your host, Jamil Curry.
And I'm your other host, Skizzle Fresh, Mr. Skylar Hall. How you doing, boss?
Doing well, man. I have been running consistently for a couple days now. I don't know what my streak is at, but it feels good. I just got done with a run and yeah, feeling good, feeling strong. Been mixing it up, getting an outdoor run in, which I think really helps with the just I don't know, the endorphins, kind of
Mm-hmm.
vitamin D, maybe catch some sunsets. And then I've been hiking on the treadmill a little bit every day too. So it's a good mix.
That's beautiful. That's what we like to hear.
Definitely, definitely enjoying it. So I got to just keep it up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing with we were talking about last week about folks who are first getting into trails or just getting into running, and just like getting that momentum. It's just the consistency. And so, yeah, man, good to hear that you're getting out and grinding. I'm basically in the same boat as you are. Had a hellacious run on Saturday. Got back to the Bay Area, and so I basically traded running on snow for running on just crazy mud. I was literally skating down hills at some point. So the legs are strong. That gave me a lot of confidence. So ready to hit some goals in 2021 and just get absolutely weird and bananas with you.
Back down at sea level, getting that air, huh?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not running any faster. It's still very much like aerobic stuff. I got to throw down a workout at some point the next couple weeks and just see if I've actually gained anything from those weeks at altitude. But yeah, man, I think I'm ready to rock. This is the healthiest I felt in, well, hell, since like last March. So we're in a good spot.
Nice. Well, if you it's your first time tuning in to the podcast, we have been going live every week on Tuesday nights, just hanging out, talking about what is interesting in running going on right now. So obviously, we've been talking about some of the end of the year kind of awards that are happening that happen in this sport. Highlight some of those, talking about some interesting race concepts that are happening and taking place, and then we're talking about a little bit about what we got going on in our lives as well. So if you are tuning in live on YouTube, you can please give us a little hello. Type in the little chat box because I haven't seen anyone say hi yet. We are saying hi to all of you out there. We appreciate all of you tuning in. And if you're catching this later, we appreciate you as well. But yeah, if someone could just tell us that you're alive out there, that would be great.
It's a new year, so like we need that fresh energy. All right, let's cleanse in the joys that 2021, the hope that 2021 brings.
All right, we got Matthew Nail on. What up? That's what I'm talking about. And we are happy to. Oh, there we go. We got here. Now it's coming in hot. Dave from Australia. Run flat, stay low from Bill Nolan. Hey,
Thank you.
hey. Uh, yeah, so we're just hanging out. If you guys do have questions for us, if you want to chime in on any of the conversations or topics that we touch on tonight, please jump in. We'll definitely read your comments here on the show. We want it to be interactive and bouncing off what you guys have. And if you have questions, we'd love to answer them later in the show as well. So what things do we got kicking around this week?
Yeah, so if you have not tuned into an episode of the Mountain Outpost pod before, it's really unstructured. It's just basically a chance for me and Jamil to catch up, and you guys get to be a part of it. But we do have a couple topics we want to touch on tonight. We got to catch up on the FKTs of the year. We did a preview of that a few weeks back, and so a couple of them have been announced. We got to talk about that. We've got sponsor changes. It's a new year, which means contracts are up, and especially in a weird pandemic year, a lot of movement that we need to talk about. We've got sort of also on the New Year's theme, establishing good habits and some resolutions that we have for ourselves and for this channel, I guess. We'll make them up on the spot because it's what we do. And then Bandera 100K is coming up down in Texas this weekend. And so we'll touch upon that and see what weirdness is going to go down Is it going to happen? Probably. And so let's take a
It's
swing
golden.
at
It's golden ticket season, baby.
exactly. So let's just take a blind guess because who knows what sort of fitness people are in these days. So we're going to touch on that plus anything that you guys throw in the chat. So if you got any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, needs, or emotions, go ahead and drop those in if you're watching live. And if you're not watching live and you're catching this later on your podcatcher of choice or on YouTube, leave a comment and maybe we'll bring it up next week. So
Well, Alan Stark's already got a hot topic. He'd already dropped rim to rim to rim alt in the chat. And I don't know if we just want to kick off with that.
Do it.
We may as well because it's just ripe for the picking. As everyone saw, Rob Krar and Mike Foote shocked the world with their naked jump and swim across the Colorado River on their rim to rim to rim alt FKT that they just set this last week. Unbelievable, I think. Like, if you guys caught the film that we put out on the Run Steep Get High channel, I was lucky enough to hear about something that a few of the Coconino Cowboys were doing a couple years back. Also in December, I think, Rob, did they do it on like New Year's Eve or something? Or it might have been.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Because it went down, I think they announced it officially on the 3rd, I want to say. So, and it was a couple days old at that part. So, yeah, it's either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day.
So it sounds like this came around relatively recently. But yeah, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, I went down into the canyon. I filmed Eric Sensman, Tim Frericks, and Jim Walmsley going after the rim to rim to rim alternate. This is the Bass Trail, rim to rim to rim. So normally people do it on what they call the main corridor trails, and that is it's the Bright Angel or South Kaibab on the south end of things, and then there's bridges you can cross, and it's the North Kaibab Trail to the North Rim. So you can do a double crossing of the Grand Canyon on these bridges. The Bass Trail, there's also a South and North Bass, and that is further west. It's like maybe 30 miles west of all that. As the crow flies, it's harder to get to. You have to go down some pretty crazy Jeep roads to get there, and kind of a lot more remote, and you have to swim the river. There's no bridge over the Colorado River over there. So that's what makes it really interesting. And I got some flack from a few people for wanting to post that video, saying it's going to encourage people. It's definitely inspired these folks to give it a shot, but I think anyone that watches these people jump into the river and have to swim and also be running 42 miles in a day is probably a fair warning. It's not something that you just want to do on a whim. But the fact that these guys jumped in naked was hilarious. I think their reasoning in some of their posts was that I think they didn't want to like carry the weight of the wetsuit, I guess. And instead they carried like a puffy jacket and figured, hey, if we just swim across naked and then dry off and put our puffy coats on, it'll be equally as good of an experience, I guess. The only thing I thought of was because they put all their clothes in one of those orange dry bags. Right?
Yeah.
Which is also, we had those as well, because we put all of our clothes that we didn't want to get wet, and you kind of blow some air into it and it becomes a little bit of a buoy and you can clip it around your waist. But I was thinking, man, okay, so they clip it around their waist, they're swimming across for some who knows what reason. Like, what if that thing comes unclipped? Like, you're not getting that back. It is going to be in Mexico before long. And you're completely naked. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to climb out of the Grand Canyon with nothing? Yeah. And it's snowing on the top. Like, there's no backup plan. I guess Christine, like, they had a couple friends down there. Mm-hmm. I guess that's your backup plan but man, that just seems a bit risky.
It's very Blades of Glory. Yeah, super risky. I wouldn't. Yeah, honestly, my thought was chafing. You're basically just like, hey, let me put this wet bag or the dry bag around my person and swim in this river, there's gonna be some chafage, just like off the jump. That it's cold as hell. So I don't know. I maybe squirrels nut butter. The backyard of the Grand Canyon. They hooked them up with a little something to set them up for success. But that I saw that and was like, hell no. Like there's not a chance in hell that I'm gonna ever try something like that. So
I mean, I
they got the
guess
ball, so go for it.
like I know in the photo here, Rob is like holding on to it, but like I don't know if at some point they were just letting it like float behind them as they're swimming. I don't know. Maybe it's more secure than I think it is, but still, that was going through my head. I was like, man, what if that thing just comes unclipped? Like it's,
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
that's wild. It's
it's
a hell of a good story. I mean, it fits along the lines of the ultra running lore that, I mean, forever and more, we will all look back upon this as like one of the great stories, I think, of the sport.
yeah.
And Rob is like up on the North Rim, looking back towards the South Rim. It's snowing, and he's having to like run back down and get naked again and swim across the river for a second time. Like that's just hilarious, man. Ultra running. Like what other sport does this crap? That's great.
It's going back to what you're saying around catching flack for putting up the original video and it potentially encouraging people. Like everyone watched Free Solo. Nobody's trying to go just like free climb mountains all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like you might go bouldering, sure, but you now be like, oh, Capitan, let me do it. Like no. So people have to have some common sense. And I think that this is one of those opportunities where many people might be in the same boat as me, is like, more power to them. No chance in hell I'm going to get involved with that.
Well, I think I hope it'll attract the right kind of person. I mean, the Grand Canyon it's not a safe place to begin with. You need to respect the canyon. I think that's the number one rule of the canyon. And I think that's what I try to portray in the film. And that's what I would always tell people. I don't think people give enough respect to the canyon. They think it's like any other trail run or any other adventure. It's way too, maybe the cowboys are just knocking off cowboy loops like it's like a tic tac or something. That's like no big deal, but it's a big deal. Like every time you go into that canyon, you've got to get your ass out, and a helicopter ride is not an appropriate way to get out of the canyon. That safety net, like it's not okay. You got to take care of yourself out there, and especially so on the Bass Trail. But I'm inspired by the Rim to Rim to Alt. It's definitely something I want to do. It's on my bucket list. And I think that we should, I think a lot of us are drawn to the sport. We don't want to live completely safe lives. Like we want to do something with our lives and do something epic. And something like the Rim to Rim Alt is, in the day and age of everyone running super far distances all the time, it's something fresh and unique, like having to swim, having something, and granted, like we made it look super dramatic, and it was a little bit dramatic for me, especially. Like I went in on that day and I hadn't taken care of myself. I probably didn't show enough respect that day. But when I swam back across the canyon, I mean, we went out in the rapids, and it was the worst spot to cross probably. And when I came back, it was smooth as glass, and it was like, I used the orange thing as a flotation device and just hugged it and just kicked my legs. And it was like not a big deal to get across. So I think just, passing that knowledge along is really the key.
Yeah. I would also remind people that you are like wilderness first aid certified. So you have some other things in your back pocket.
Well, I've been in like Boy Scouts and all the stuff.
I will give the disclaimer for that. But I mean, I've been in Facebook groups with folks who are like Grand Canyon aficionados, and then folks who want to do their first venture into the canyon or talking off the jump, rim to rim to rim, and are, just so blind and so clueless. And some of the questions they ask, it's like, you shouldn't be talking about rim to rim to rim yet. Like you just go across once. Based on some of the questions that you're asking, like there really is a need to understand what folks are getting into. It's not just, this many feet of vert. Like there's some crazy stuff you're going to deal with, the wildlife down there. And I had the fortune of working with the tribes down in that area, and they don't have access to regular healthcare. Like the helicopter legit is the way that people who live in the canyon have to get in and out. It's like that or a mule. And so if you're going to come in on a day trip and not take it seriously, you're putting yourself in a lot of danger, and the resources are not going to be there to assist you. So it's great to watch people do it on Instagram and on Strava who are prepared for it. But yeah, it's not everybody's going to roll out of bed, nor should they, to tackle the canyon in that way. But these dudes have been crushing some pretty technical and insane stuff for ages. What, a decade at this point? So they were definitely ready for it, and they showed it on the day. So they showed it all on the day.
I got to shout out to the ladies as well, because there was a women's rim to rim alt group. Did you hear about that?
No.
Let me see if I can open it up. And I will say, what I like about all of these that I've seen so far is it seems like everyone going for rim to rim alt thus far is doing it in groups, which is smart. I don't know if they've been carrying satellite devices for communications in case of emergency, but that would be smart. Suzanne Strower, Kristen Douglas, and Lexi Miller. They did on October 23rd of last year, 22 hours, 27 minutes for rim to rim alt. So Rob and Mike took about 50 minutes off of the Cowboys time. I mean, they definitely saved some time with not having to do the wetsuits and all that. And, I think it builds upon the previous ones. So the fact that those guys, they had to kind of re-scope out the route. There wasn't a lot of information. I mean, Peter Backwin did it back in 2014. Theirs was in 2018. So it just takes time. And I'm sure these guys got intel from the Cowboys trip, or were able to look at their Strava and kind of see. I think people will figure out the best places to cross. They'll figure out the optimal balance of gear, maybe try it in a different month in December.
That's the part I have not figured out. Is it's got to be. I mean, maybe the waters are calmer, but like everything else about that seems absolutely miserable.
Yeah, like I feel like more like October or like a February might be a better window, just because you're not going to have the snow on the rim. You're going to have daylight the whole time. You have a little bit warmer temperatures, even though I think the river temperature doesn't really change much. But of course, when you get out, you can warm up. So there's some considerations there for sure. But yeah, I think it's great to see people going after it. It's cool. Inspires me for sure. But yeah, they have. So what I was saying is most of these people are doing it in groups, which I think is great. And a lot of them have had spotters or like a friend or someone that has been at the river during the crossing. I mean, number one, probably because people want photos and videos of it happening.
Yeah.
Like it's a novel thing still. It's a cool thing. And you want a record of that, I think.
I mean, Pixar, it didn't happen. I think that's pretty much the rule.
Instagram life for sure.
So, obviously that was one crazy FKT to start 2021, but fastest known time is also currently counting down their top 5 FKTs of 2020, which we know was an insane year for FKTs because a lot of races were canceled for very obvious reasons. And so thus far, they have announced selections 5, 4, and 3 on both the men's and women's side. So we should help the folks get up to date as to what those are, so they can look forward to number 2 and number 1 that are getting announced early next week. And if you didn't see our preview, you can go back to episode 3, 4. I don't know what the number of these are anymore. 2 weeks ago, we talked about all of the FKT of the year nominees, and you can judge for yourself. So we'll run down it real quick. Number 5, there's only a men's number 5, and that will become clear why in a second. But number 5 was Adam Kimball for the Tahoe Rim Trail FKT this past year. Shout out, me and him were in the same USATF coaching clinic back in like 2018. So that's my guy. Number 4 on the men's side was David Ayala for the Sierra High Route. And there was a 3-way tie on the women's side for number 4 between Caitlin Gerben and the Wonderland Trail, Michaela Osher, I think, for the Colorado Trail, and then Alyssa Godsky, I think is how you say that. You can correct me on that one, for the Adirondack 46 High Peaks. So 3-way tie on the women's side on a pretty diverse array of FKTs. One's like sort of a one-day adventure, one's a 1-week push, and one is just climb some high stuff for a very long time. And then number 3 on the men's side was, I think it was Eric Gilbertson. I got to double check that. Yep. For the Rocky Mountain Slam. That was the one with like all the high peaks.
That was crazy. 205 summits in 60 days.
Yep. Across 3 states. So that was just insane
including all of Nolan's 14, I guess, or all the 14ers, right?
It was the 14ers in Colorado, the 13ers, correct. Yep.
Like that.
So that's bananas, which makes me very interested in who the hell got number 2 and number 1. I think we have a good guess as number 1, but number 2, pretty interesting. And then number 3 on the women's side was Sarah Hansel and the Nolan's 14 FKT. Which
that makes you think of who's going to be ahead of her on the women's side.
Yep. So it's definitely going to be, I think, debatable as to the FKTs, at least for on the women's side, probably for number 2 and number 1. On the men's side, I think number 2 can make a pretty good argument. A lot of closeness, I would say, in my estimation, between 5 to 2. So what I'm guessing is 2, because I have a pretty strong guess based on our conversation what number 1 was, and y'all can check the show for that. But yeah, that's where the FKT of the year stand. I think Fastest Known Time also dropped a podcast with some of those, or maybe all of those folks.
It's hard to keep up with everything happening, but yes, I know that they have been putting out definitely content about all of this.
Mm-hmm. So yes, you can, the website, I believe, is still live. You can see the whole list. And as I said, a couple episodes ago, we went through all of the candidates on both the men's and women's side, supported, unsupported, what the route was, like all of that stuff. So you can dig into that if you so choose, and look out next week, because by the time we record next week's show, we should theoretically know number 2 and number 1 FKTs of 2020.
That's right.
Any surprises to you thus far?
Maybe the Nolan's runner-up. Like, I would figure that Nolan's would be on there once, but the fact that it's likely to be on there twice, possibly. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. You'd think they'd be more spread out, but maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of right there with you. It really allows for a conversation around the mountain FKTs, and like, are those worth more in the eyes of the voters? And does it, because we had this full walkthrough of, like, you have some of the FKTs on the list that are, less than 6 hours of total runtime versus some of these longer, more insane challenges. So
yeah, like, how do you give weight to one that takes more time, and should that always win out, or is it, the history of a certain FKT, and if it's been a long-standing record that a lot of people have been going after, is the difficulty of obtaining it, or is it just the most inspiring thing that we have heard? Who knows?
Yeah, and I think that might end up being what sort of comes to the fore, is this this notion that one of the FKTs that is more competitive, just because so many people have tried it, especially in a year like 2020, that's what really propelled it onto the leaderboard.
Yeah. When we saw there's some of the Northeast that were just like 6 different times. People are just like hammering it, just going after it. That Boulder Skyline Traverse had a ton of activity too because
Mm-hmm.
it was like a golden segment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I'm a little surprised that the men's Wonderland Trail hasn't popped up yet. I wonder if that'll be number two. But then it begs the question of if the Nolan's 14 runner up got on, should the Wonderland men's runner up have gotten on, given how close and competitive that was over the span of 1 week?
Yeah, it's
So,
really with only 2 left, it's kind of hard to think like something big is going to get left out.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then obviously last week we were talking about ultra performances of the year. Those have not been announced yet. So
yeah, there's kind of been radio silence, seems like, from Ultra Running Magazine. I don't know if they're waiting for FKT to play itself out or what. I don't know what the holdup is on that.
yeah, I'm wondering if they're trying to stick to the traditional schedule, because normally if there was a ultra runner of the year rollout, then that would have been going on right now, and then
Oh, and then they
performance comes
performance
after.
after. Okay.
So they might be just like, we'll wait until FKT of the year is done, because that would be roughly when ultra runner of the year would be done in a normal year, and then
Makes sense to stagger it probably as far as for attention. So who knows?
here's the thing though, we're going to get to a point where that's going to get overshadowed by the Hoka Carbon
Well,
X2
Bandera, yeah,
event.
it's like you
And
kind of
yeah,
need to just get it go. Like I like to see it rolling out. Like January 1, do the 5 and then 4. Like do it 5 days in a row, do the countdown, men's and women's. Because FKT kind of just dropped, they were just like, boom, here's like, didn't they do it all at once? Like here's 5, 4, 3, and then it's like wait a week, and then we'll kind of give you these other two because they said no, they're not gonna announce it till the 8th.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and they dropped the first one must have been like December 28th or 29th. Like they didn't even wait until the first of the year. So it's an interesting rollout strategy. Would not have been how I planned it, but also
I mean, we might
you
just
do
have
whatever
to
you want.
we might just have to take over and have our own award show next season. I think I'm feeling it already. I mean, we
Oh
did have
man.
the Ultra Bromance and Womance, so I think we're gonna need a category of something like I don't even know where it's gonna go, but I'm feeling it. The people's choice, because right now it's only like the people voting are like, the select few. So
Yeah.
I think we need a people's vote, and we're just gonna lay it out there right now. If you guys want to see the people's vote for ultra running performances and other wacky awards, please comment. Brian Sands, hello, greetings from Iowa. Thanks for tuning in. We love you. So good to hear from you.
Yes, sir. Also, Cocodona. We'll see him in a couple months.
Yep. I think he is gearing up for that one. Yep. We are
Beautiful.
gearing up as well.
So let's talk about again, I'm just pulling this out of the fly. You are a race director. You had a race this past weekend, or Air Vipa had a race this past weekend.
Yep.
Black Canyon is coming up. What's going on in the race directing world in a pandemic scenario?
Yeah, we just announced today we obtained approval for the Black Canyon Ultras. I got word last night. The land managers from the BLM just came back from holiday. They've been reviewing our plans, and they gave us the green light based upon our COVID plan that we submitted to them. So I guess high level updates on that for those of you that are considering Black Canyon. If you're on the wait list, if you're wondering if there's spots available, it is a Western States qualifier. It is a Western States Golden Ticket race for 2021. So yes, you can race your way into Western States this year if you come and you get top 2 at Black Canyon. Pretty exciting. It's going to be moved to a 2-day event. So the 100K will be Saturday, the 60K will be Sunday, and we are doing wave starts. So it's actually going to be waves of 50, but going off every 15 minutes. And the 50 people will be spread out on the Mayer High School track. So you're not crammed in a pen. There's going to be plenty of room to spread. We are limiting crew areas. So no crew at the start or spectators at the start, no crew spectators at the finish. The reason we can't have spectators there is it's a very small staging area. We also have to shuttle everyone in and out. And we feel like it's too much exposure to try and do that. So we're going to have a live feed from the finish that you can tune in and watch. You are able to crew at Bumblebee Ranch at approximately mile 20, at Black Canyon City, mile 37, and then at Table Mesa, mile 50. So you get to see a runner 3 times in the 100K, twice at the 60K, including the finish. There's plenty of room to spread out at those venues. Our shuttle buses, there is going to be a shuttle bus available. We're giving everyone a KN95 mask as they get on. Of course, if you're not feeling well, please don't come to the event. We will have a generous policy of deferral, 100% race credits if for any reason you are feeling sick and you can't make it. So, sign up with confidence if you are wanting to race. If you don't feel comfortable, please don't come, and look for a future edition. So I think that's the high level stuff in terms of what's different. But yeah, our goal is to provide a safe racing venue for people to come out and join us if they feel like that's something they want to do.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, I know that there's, coming out of the holiday, there's been a lot of news just around COVID safety writ large. And so, the public health official in me wants to remind folks, if you're feeling sick in any way, shape, or form, just, bunker down at home. And, if the symptoms linger, like get your test and whatnot. If you're traveling to Arizona, or really just leaving your general community to participate, the smart thing to do, the advised thing to do, is to get that outbound test before you travel, right? You don't want to get all the way there and then things flare up on you and you can't race and you've already put everyone on a plane particularly at risk. So make sure you play it smart, even if you're not racing and you're just like living your life. Just be smart. Let's get through this together.
I'd say if you are personally traveling, I mean, I think testing before and after would be a smart move for yourself and for everyone else who you might come in contact with, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I got tested twice while I was in Colorado, once 5 days after I landed and once 2 days before I left. And now I'm just quarantining at home otherwise, until I get my inbound test at the beginning of next week. So, we're all in this together. And one of the things that makes ultra running and running in general so great is the community. And so this is one of those times where we got to look out for each other and help us protect that community.
Sure. We had a question. Any big names coming to Black Canyon? I think it might end up being an understatement. I think there's going to be a lot of big names. Right now, we actually have an elite request form. So if you are out there and you are coming to Black Canyon and you want to be considered for the first wave, which is basically going to be the wave that's in contention for the golden ticket, you're gonna have to be in that first wave to contend. You can't, run a faster time later. You got to be in the first wave and you got to compete with all the folks at the very first one. So if you are coming and want to be consideration, please, I think it's available on the website and on Ultra Sign Up. We're mostly be able to find the people and seed them correctly, but we don't want to miss anyone that thinks they can jump in. So that would be recommended. And yeah, I think the invites are going out today. So we'll see probably by the end of this week what our field is shaping up to be. So.
Yeah. But you're not the only exciting race happening in Arizona sometime in the next month and a half.
That's right.
We got to talk about that Hoka Carbon X event, Carbon X2.
Carbon X2. Yep.
Somewhere in the greater Phoenix, Arizona area. It was announced, the first or second of this year. So just this past weekend, news broke that much like the Carbon X event that happened in Sacramento in 2019, where Walmsley and others were going for the 50-mile record and then the 100K record. They're doing it again with only one distance in mind, and that's the 100K. And they've stacked that field once again, also with a couple of friends of the pod. So have you looked at this list? Are you?
I haven't seen the list yet.
Okay, so let me track it down. I have it, I think, bookmarked here. So, and this will blend into this conversation around sponsor changes for sure. So we have, it's, how do I put this? One of the most interesting concepts, because it's actually not just one event that's happening in Phoenix. There is a concurrent event that's also happening in Japan, with a couple of Japanese runners out there. So they're going to be doing the exact same contest, just, I guess, 18 hours or 17 hours ahead. So still same day, January 23rd, going after it. So there's that. Let me pull up this list for you. We have currently slated for the for this edition, if my browser will open, because that's where we're at. We've got obviously Jim Walmsley coming back with only one distance in mind. Obviously, he got the 50-mile best during the original Carbon X project. He's back. Patrick Regan, who we obviously know in the Aerovipal world as a multiple-time Javelina 100 champion. You have Tyler Andrews, Rajpal Panu, Tim Frericks, Fernando Cabada, Cole Wilson, Sage Candidate, Jared Hazen, like off of his recent JFK successes, Chris Brown, Kyle Masterson, Hayden Hawks, obviously definitely off of his JFK success, Elov Olsen, old friend of the pod. Elov is going to be a part of the American version. Yes.
Whoa.
Yep. So he's coming through. Joachim Lantz and John Lantz, both also of Sweden. Dion Finocchiaro and Peter Vanderson are all slated on the men's side to be taking place.
That's insane.
I'm sure some of those will be pacers, or it may act as a pacing situation, but they're all going for their respective that 100K world record. The women's side also pretty interesting. Less names, but some big ones. So you have Courtney Olsen, you have Devin Yanko, you have I should say Devin Yanko of like winning every Aerovipal virtual.
That's her claim to fame. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the Aerovipal virtual women's champ all time.
Absolutely. You have Katrin Jones, Audrey Tanguy. I don't speak French, so somebody can pronounce that better than I. Catriona Jennings, Carla Molinaro, Nicole Manette, and the biggest sponsor transfer shakeup of the entire last 5 or 6 days, newly minted Hoka athlete Camille Herron. So that's who's going to be lining up at Project Carbon X2 on January 23rd in the greater Phoenix area somewhere. I'm sure we'll get more details about what the course looks like, what the pacing strategy looks like.
Where would be a great place to hold a fast road ultra in Arizona? I'm just going to leave it at that.
I might have seen a map that was very eerily similar to a different map that we have seen recently in a greater Phoenix area.
Javelina 100? What?
Nobody's trying to run on that sandy wash. That's not going to help for a 100K world record. So that's going to be coming down the pipe in a couple of weeks, and we can do a more involved preview as we get close to that. But that was one of the big news ventures that came out this past week. But yeah, that literally came right after the news of Camille moving from Nike to Hoka. huge grab for Hoka. Uh, I'm interested to see sort of how she responds to the shoes.
Hmm.
Obviously, she's been running in like the Vaporflies and Next Percents for any number of records. A lot of stuff on the track. We have Tunnel Hill. We've all seen her in those shoes. But I'm wondering, we've also seen her be, uh, I guess, not 100% healthy for a lot of races in the past couple of years. She was 80 miles in at Javelina before she had to pull with that hamstring issue, I think. So it'll be interesting to see if this was specifically a contract that was too nice to refuse, or if she sees some health benefits to moving over to Hoka. So we'll have to track her down and try to get the answer to that.
She can be in her career. It's like she can drop out of some race for some injury or something, and then she'll turn around like a couple months later and just have like the race of her life. So we'll see.
Yeah. So definitely a lot of sponsor shakeups, but that was the big one that caught a lot of people's eyes. I woke up to people legitimately texting me about it, which I guess is cool. Like, I have some really nerdy ultra running friends apparently. Looking at you, Nate. But yeah, it's quality. What did you think when you saw the news of that, or you probably heard about it?
I think I got a tip off. I don't remember where I got the tip off. I got a tip off about the Carbon X event a few months ago, so I had to kind of stay tight-lipped about it. But I think it. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, Hoka's been making lots of moves in the trail space, in the ultra space, making lots of investments in the track space. So I think they're putting together a pretty exciting event here that I think we're all going to be talking about for a while. Especially, I mean, hopefully we just get some world records, and I think it's going to light the ultra world on fire.
Oh yeah, I mean, people are hunkering for racing and any motivation at this point after a year of basically no major races. So this will be quality. I'm actually also interested to see or to hear more about the rest of the Nike Trail team, though. With Camille moving over, there's a lot of folks who I do not see Nike Trail listed on their Instagram profiles anymore. I'm not sure if Nike just sort of, in a weird year, and after all of the changes they've had in their leadership, just shed a lot of contracts. I don't know if a lot of athletes sort of had an internal conversation amongst themselves to disband from Nike, but there's a lot of folks that we've seen wearing Nike kits over the last 3 or 4 years that are no longer a part of that outfit. So,
is there any that have confirmed that are staying, or you're just hearing a lot of either absentness of?
Yeah, I've pretty much only seen things removed. Nike Trail doesn't have the greatest social media account. I think their Instagram, their specific Nike Trail running Instagram, hasn't had a post since like October 2019 or something weird. So
that's not a good sign already. I mean,
exactly.
they came out swinging back. What was it, 6 years ago, something like that?
Yeah,
they had like the dream team, insane. They had the whole like Winnebago, like they had the whole vibe going. And I don't know what it was. I mean, did the shoes just not sell? Have you used the Nike Trail shoes?
yeah, like well, I have like one pair of them.
Okay.
I'm still using the Kiger 5s that I've had for like over a year, mostly because I run a bunch of roads, and so trail shoes last a little longer for me. But I mean, they were fine. But the way that I've seen so many people who are on the Pegasus hype train, like, it's surprising that there isn't the same, or that they would like reduce the investment in the sort of longer endurance shoe, be it road or trail. I mean, maybe they were just like, we're going to go all in on Vaporflies, and we're making so much money on that margin that we don't need to invest in this anymore. But or they think that all these hobby joggers are getting Vaporflies because they want to win their turkey trot, and they don't need to pay contracts. Like, their name is good enough. I have no idea. But I mean, there are some notable names that, like, Varner's out, or Varner's not listed. David Laney's not listed. I'd have to go see if uh,
Daniels.
Matt Daniels is still listed. But I mean, I literally can't really name, like, if there was a cross country meet in the ultra running space, I don't think they could field a team. Like, I don't think they have five. And so we're seeing, Under Armour can put together five people. So
Brittany Peterson is staying. So
okay.
And should be running Black Canyon. So we could still be seeing Nike Trail winning races here, big time races.
Yeah. And I, was just watching the Solomon video recapping the Golden Trail series, and there was one Nike athlete listed in the entire thing, which, is there were more orienteering related brands that were listed as sponsors than Nike. So it's an interesting position for a brand that bills itself as the track and field brand. But they apparently just stop at 26.2 and are like, if it's longer than that or it gets muddy whatsoever, we're just not going to invest in it in the same way. So
we got a few comments here. Jen Rooney, what up?
Oh man.
He's crushing it in across the globe right now. He jumped in real quick here. And he said,
he's typing while running, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure he's on his treadmill right now getting after it. And he says, Peg Trail 2s are amazing. Also, Highland Running Club jumping in here. I won't allow Nike shoes in my house. Okay.
Which might be part of the issue, like there might be athletes who are just like, because of, stuff involving Alberto Salazar and that component and Mary Kane and like just treatment of women's contracts and, would it come out with like Alyssa Montero
brand.
Yeah.
Chris Mocco, there's a big question mark.
Nope. Listed as retired Nike trail running athlete. Okay. Yeah.
Currently retired. Hayden Hawks back with Hoka, of course. But I think that was like announced a bit ago.
Pre-JFK.
Yeah. And he was originally with Hoka. I was just looking back at the Miller versus Hawks video a little bit of that footage. And it's like he was, blue and yellow Hoka all the way back when he was basically unknown. Come to think of it, Laney's account was very active and it's been quiet lately. And let's see, I had one more comment. Okay, this is kind of off topic, but like it says, hey, is orienteering, running with a map, a thing in the USA? Yeah. There are some orienteering clubs that have events, like I think they call them Scoros. There's like a 3-hour Scoro, 6-hour Scoro. Basically, you run around with a map, you find these control points. There's a Greater Phoenix orienteering club around me. It always conflicts with something, so I really would like to go do one because it would be kind of a fun Barkley thing. I know that my friend Guillaume and Andy Pearson, when they were doing some of the what did they call them, like raid? They call them raids, maybe like a 24-hour orienteering challenge, and they were doing some of those too. It sounded kind of fun. He says, what are the biggest players in the trail running business? I don't know if that's just pure trail running. I mean, there's quite a few, I guess. Aravaipa were pretty decent. But there's, I don't know, what would you say, biggest in the trail running business?
From like a race directing standpoint or from a brand, like a shoe apparel?
It was not very specific.
Yeah.
All the major shoe brands kind of have trail divisions, but like we were just talking about, some are more active, some are less active.
Mm-hmm.
Hoka, very active in the scene right now. I feel like Solomon is a good supporter. Mm-hmm. Ultra is kind of like stepping away a bit. Like Dave seems to be like losing some of their athletes as well, or not really supporting as much as they were, but I'm not sure their direction. You've also got some different brands stepping in. There's like the Adidas Terex is doing some stuff. Under Armour, they had like a series, but then it kind of went away. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you still have like the old, Brooks elements, and I think Saucony's got some shoes. New Balance has got some shoes, but they don't really put together
Yeah.
full teams.
They're asking
Really
trail running brand and shoes. So
yeah.
specifically,
So yeah, I mean, you can find those, and you can go to pretty much any running shop and find all those brands. One I'm kind of waiting to see if they do something is On. They've been making a pretty big push the last couple of years in the road space, and I think they like legitimately are signing some pro athletes in the shorter stuff now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. They might make that move, and then if that Atreyu, I think is how you pronounce it. There's that like new outfit out of Texas. I think they're out of Texas. I don't know if they're going to go into the trail space, but there's definitely some folks who are trying to
that's like the
make some
subscription model shoe.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. It's like you just pay a fee and they send you.
Yeah.
Their trail running shoes are horrible, they say. Okay.
Yeah. Well, haven't tried them. Can't tell you.
Yeah.
But I'll take your word for it. But yeah, but I think so. Going back to sponsor shakeups on the whole, me putting my run flat, stay low hat on. There's been a lot of stuff happening on the track side too. I think a lot of contracts were sort of set to end at the end of 2020 because that would have been a typical Olympic year. But now it's like things have blown up. I'm talking like Ryan Hill, who's been with Bowerman Track Club for like 6 or 7 years, I think, maybe even longer. Multiple time 5K US qualifier, and he's going to Hoka NAZ Elite. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with him at Flagstaff, also leaving a Nike outfit to go to Hoka. You've got Ben True left Saucony, don't know where he is going. Molly Seidel, Olympic trials marathon runner up, leaving Saucony, going to ? People are saying Puma might be where that's going, and that's a whole nother thing because Puma has not been in distance running ever, I'm going to say. Sandy Morris on the pole vault, Nike over to Puma. Aisha Pratt-Lear leaving Under Armour, unknown where she's going. So folks are just like all over the place, regardless of division and gender and sport. And then one that hurt my heart a little bit, Kyle Merber, 1500 specialist, runs with New York, New Jersey Track Club. He is reassessing priorities because according to him, runners never really retire. They just stop getting paid to run. So he's hanging up the spikes officially as a professional runner, but he's just a character if you haven't seen or heard him on a podcast or anything like that. So a lot of movement in the shorter run flat world. But yeah, it's been nuts. This Puma thing that seems to be like rumors about it, but nothing's been announced. There's no press releases. There's nothing on their page about it, but they might be starting an outfit in North Carolina, which has become this hotbed of college running in the past couple of years. So to put a pro team or pro training group out there makes a lot of sense, sort of in that Research Triangle area. But don't be surprised if in the next couple of weeks you hear Puma out of the blue with like an all-star team going into an Olympic year. So
do you think we're going to see, is there, I guess there's all these like pro road groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like quite a few of them. I don't know them all. You know probably way more than me, but there's like the NAZ Elite. There's this Dark Sky Distance that's Under Armour that's also in Flagstaff. Are there some other big ones? What is Drawdy part of? Is he part of like the Roots thing? Or
yeah, he's with Roots Running, so that's in Boulder.
Okay.
Yep, that's a group up here. I'm not in Colorado. Up in Boulder. So there's that. You still have the old the Zap group, which is in I want to say North Carolina. You've got Reebok Boston, which is actually in Virginia. So figure that out. You have the 10-man elite group in Boulder. You've got, and they have like a subsidiary track club for non-elite, I guess, the 10-man non-elite track club. You got the Boss Hard group with Joe Boss in Boulder, which is one of the more interesting groups because they are not tied to a sponsor. Like literally, Emma Coburn and Corey McGee and Danny Jones are New Balance athletes, but then Aisha Protlear was an Under Armour athlete. They have a Saucony athlete. Like they're a very interesting group, but they're also in like the general Colorado complex. I'm totally blanking on some. You have the group that's in Providence under Ray Tracy. You've got BAA, obviously in Boston. You have both of the Nike outfits, Bowerman Track Club and Oregon Track Club, or whatever OTC is now being rebranded as. And then you have some not insignificant smaller local groups that make waves when it comes to like cross national and marathon qualifiers. I'm thinking like the Impalas on the women's side here in the Bay Area are like 140 deep and they all run faster than me in the 5K. It's disappointing. So yeah, which I got to step my game up. So yeah, there's a lot of those outfits, but yet again, they're all consistent, but they're all usually tied to a coach and a figurehead, and that's sort of the glue of it.
So we don't see there's no equivalency in trail ultra.
No.
The closest thing, I mean, the collection of like the Coconino Cowboys was like a concept of, it's just, I know it's kind of just friends, but it is kind of maybe a semblance of some sort of an ultra running training group that has a name. They don't have a coach or an aligned. They're kind of, most of them are Hoka, but it's not an alignment of like, this is our branded, ultra running team with a coach. We live in an area, we support each other, we train together, we race, we align. Nothing like that exists.
Yeah, I mean, and Walmsley had that conversation with Dylan Bowman on his podcast last month, where he was like, no, basically it was the fact that, the Cowboys specifically operate as a think tank. Like Jim would go in and say like, I have this thought process on my next training block. And the rest of them would either tell him he's an idiot or be like, that's not horrible. And then he would kind of make a decision from there because Jim is self-coached. So there's that component. The closest thing to like a trail outfit would be Swap with like David and Megan Roche. But then that's still not a lot of people who are living in the same area necessarily. I think there are a lot of folks who happen to be in the greater Boulder area that are Swap athletes. But I think that's more happenstance than design because Swap athletes are everywhere. Like it's kind of hard to be on the start line of a major race and not be next to a Swap athlete. So I think that would be the closest thing, but I can't think of any major prominent.
I mean, do we think that would help the sport in any way, or like would be valuable or make a difference for athletes? Or is it just kind of the fragmentation just fine as is? What do you think? Do you think that would add some excitement to the sport?
I think it would, with the caveat that there is there's a coordinated social media component that goes with it. Because even what we're seeing in the road side and the track side is the training groups. Basically every training group has a YouTube channel, but some people do it significantly better than others, and
so
it's to build that brand.
A quality brand where you get to know the people and you get to see the behind the scenes of what their lives are and what they're doing.
Absolutely. I've seen more people get excited about Brooks in the past 3 months because Spencer Brown, the athlete special on YouTube, signed with the Brooks Beast in Seattle and then moved there. And so now you're seeing all of their athletes, Kerr and Ali Ostrander and all of them, you're seeing their personalities more than Brooks had already been marketing them. And so people are like, oh, Brooks, like I'll buy those shoes. And so we need that sort of that element in the trail world. And like, just think about what happened with all like the Stop Gym shirts and like every version of, these groups in different localities coming up with like not even necessarily anti-Cowboys, but like the Pima Pirates or the Cappuccino Cowboys. Like the social media brought about this competitiveness that like brought out the best in everyone involved.
Well, like what's the beauty of professional sports leagues? It's the rivalries, it's the storylines, it's the drama. I mean, if there were, and I think, and that's what I think, like the whole thing, yeah, like Coconino versus the Cappuccino, and it kind of got muddled away. But yeah, like I
It
think,
didn't. It still lives, buddy. It
yeah,
still
well,
lives.
the Pirates, like I think, and maybe it's not every group has to be like that, but yeah, I mean, it would be cool, I think, to see some more of that, some more behind the scenes or storytelling of training groups. Like, I mean, I know I would be inspired if I had a little group that was a training group to bounce things off of. It'd be sweet, you know. And if there was like another group that's over there in like the Bay Area and they're, you know, we're all prepping for like some big race and we're going to show down and yeah, maybe talk a little shit or even like coordinate our efforts together to do collaborative things that make it interesting. Keep us talking about something. And there's some ongoing storylines that we can gravitate towards. I think, yeah, it helps spice it up.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
yeah, no, for sure. I think that's, how do I put this? I think that it's easier to just do the running part of that and say like, here are the folks that I always do my 5 a.m. Saturday runs with, and we all train together and we're training for the same races, and we're all like gunning to own this. I think that part's easy. I think converting that to a brand or something that folks can identify with and want to get invested with is much more difficult. I mean, we sort of know this from the launch of Mountain Outpost in its original form, where all of a sudden people think like you have to always be the same way you are in a video. And it's like, no, like we're still people. We just tend to do dumb stuff, but like you can still walk up to us at a race and say hi and have a normal conversation. And I think that a lot of people in the trail running space aren't prepared. They might be naturally introverts, or they're not prepared for like the weird balance you have to walk of like public figure, but also like the trail running community. So like you're just still got to be pretty chill about the whole thing because nobody likes an asshole in the trail running community. Like,
Yeah, it's like staying grounded.
yeah. And I think that part's difficult because a lot of people, once they start trying to be like an Instagram influencer, like they lose the thread. Or it's just them every week, with their like, here's me on my toes showing off my calves as I'm going for a run, and like it gets kind of played out. And so, yeah, I think there's a balancing act that a lot of these groups would need to hit. But there are some ways, that we can.
Who do you think is doing
facilitate that?
Who do you think's doing a great job in terms of like a track professional road type group? Is that what you would call it? Like a professional
professional training group.
Professional training group. Like who's doing a great job of like managing their YouTube channel, for instance? Because I mean, I come from a YouTube world, I think. So who's doing a great job? Because I honestly don't follow many, but I'm really interested in kind of diving into that world.
Yeah, I would say, okay, so let me preface this with there are a lot of individual athletes who maintain their own channels, even though they're part of other training groups. And I think that is good, but can also be a flaw because it doesn't necessarily always highlight the group. It highlights the one individual, which I get, it's their individual contract and all of that. So that muddies it a little bit. Like Morgan McDonald has a new YouTube channel that like a lot of folks who are younger than I are really hype on. But then like you kind of forget that like he's part of this boss group.
Which one is he part of?
I think he's with Team Boss Hard, unless that's recently changed. But I know that he was a part of like a lot of the stuff that the Joe Boss group was doing through quarantine. So
does he have a red headband?
Probably, yeah. He's a former Wisconsin runner.
So he's just got a couple videos so far.
Yeah, but people are jazzed about it for some reason.
Right,
I haven't, that's not me throwing shade at him. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I just have seen comments on it. So But he's always been a character when he was running in college, so it would not
The
surprise
Tin
me
Man
if.
Elite, they seem to have a good following.
Correct. 10 Man Elite was going to be my go-to example of an actual group, but that's because they have they have a lot of intentionality around highlighting the group as a whole. Even when they brought in new members this past summer, like they did a Q&A, which is like viewer questions and Instagram questions thrown at the three new members. They're always talking about their team retreats and the training runs of all of them together. So you get a feel for each individual's personality, but they never lose the thread of like, we are a team living together, working towards one common goal, which is excelling at an elite level. I mean, you even had Joey Baggs trying to break 4 minutes in the mile, which high schoolers do now, but like it's a thing that he had never done, and he's a professional athlete, and he's like, I just want to highlight that this is a goal that I have in 2020. And so they had like a little series just on that. So 10 Man Elite probably does the best job, and it shows based on Instagram, on like the live content they're doing, the YouTube full length stuff that they're doing, and then also they then turn around and are supporting a huge drop of merchandise like every 2 or 3 months that sells out within minutes. So
Nice.
there's definitely a following there. Groups
But
that
they've
could probably
got like a, do they have someone on their team who edits the videos, or do they hire someone?
Yeah, so they basically have like a brand manager and a intern. So it's like two people who do all that stuff for them. But they're just super funny about how they go about it. And you also start to identify with those background staff. They'll include the intern in the videos where he's just like providing color commentary as they're getting ready to go for their event.
Videos, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's cool.
Are there any trail running team events like a Staffel run in 400 meter? Do you know what that is?
Nope.
Okay. I'll try and figure out what that is, and then we'll get back to you. There's not a lot of team events in trail running in general.
No,
Like there's like the Ragnar relay. That's not like a competitive thing that people do. Like, oh, we're gonna go try and win the Ragnar this year,
Yeah, which is interesting because I think that the closest thing I could think of, and it's not even really trail, is like the speed project. Where it's like we're trying to get from point A to point B. I guess there's Trans Rockies to some degree.
One. It's like a partner thing, but it's more than something where like we're all like tuning in to see who wins. It's just people just like going because it's social and they meet people and drink and stuff like that.
There was a concept for, was it the Golden Trail 2019, where there was going to be a team scoring component based on brands? There was some race that was going to have that. And it was going to be like cross country style scoring, but it was over the course of an ultra. But I think like 2 brands signed up for it and like wanted to pony up the prize money, and they're like, yeah, this probably isn't worth it.
Oh, that was Run Rabbit Run, I think.
Yeah.
Person team, and you had to put in $10,000, and it was going to be like the largest prize in oh my gosh. Oh, the person is like German. Relay race. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, we were just saying there are some relay races, but not really. Like it's still kind of really a solo sport overall.
Yeah, I think the speed project, there's one that goes across Montana or Indiana or Wyoming, something up there in the summer, and it's the same sort of thing as the speed project, but closer to like dirt roads. But yeah, I can't imagine one. It also, like, what would that course look like? Because with the speed project, you got people in vans. I guess it's true for Ragnar. You got people in vans and they just like hop out, tag in, and keep running. And on a trail, that gets significantly more difficult. It's like, okay, we'll see you in 35 miles at the next, road junction.
I mean, like a Black Canyon, you could do it easily. Like there's every like 7 miles, you could have a jump in, jump out point.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. Like a Black Canyon relay. Oh my God, people would smoke that course.
Oh
You get
yeah.
like the Cowboys on a relay on that thing. Oh my God. You probably run it in like, I don't know, 5.5 hours or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I mean, basically, you can let somebody just blitz the downhill and destroy their
Yeah.
legs, and then when you get to the last,
They would
oh
average
yeah,
sub 6 the whole race, I'm
yeah,
sure. It'd be incredible.
it's not the worst idea.
It's pretty,
I think
pretty
I think we might have just established a new category of FKTs. So, but it'd
I
have to be
mean,
something crazy.
oh, just so like an FKT relay, meaning you could do it
Mhm.
anytime you wanted. I mean, our head-to-head race would be really sweet. You get it,
Oh yeah.
like you get all these groups to form a team, and you just have jump in, jump out points. That'd be pretty exciting. A 4-person team on the AT. There you go. That would take a while. I'm talking like
Or
a 1-day thing, and we can live stream it or something.
yeah, we could do.
Although you would need the Cowboys to be also on the video team so that we could even just keep up with them.
Yeah, because drones are a little bit difficult to use in
Actually,
a lot of those
drones
places.
would be a good way to do it. You're right. We could just drone the whole damn thing. I
Yeah,
like that
assuming
even
you can get
better.
the permit.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's think through
Probably,
this.
probably just as hard as getting a COVID permit. So I think we got it.
How fast do you think a relay could take down Western States?
Oh, God. Like 11? Could we cut 3 hours off like a gym time? I'm sure.
I mean, probably. Because you
Yeah.
got to think where you can, assuming you can pre-position, because that first handoff should probably be just after the wilderness, and that aid station is like impossible to get to if you're at the start. Um, but if you were able to pre-position folks for that exchange, yeah, you could probably tear it up. We should play with this idea. This isn't a horrible idea. Like we might have that might have to be like a weird thing we try at some point this year.
Yeah, it seems like a fun concept. I mean, and I guess anyone could anyone could sign up. We would obviously could focus on the front of the pack, but like what's to say that anyone could just sign up for like a relay handoff type of an event like that.
I mean,
Maricopa Trail, maybe that could be a good one.
the whole thing.
Oh, like no, like we could like what's a good length? I mean, are we just recreating Ragnar here? I don't know. Like you could pick like 100, like it was 100 miles, like a good amount of a good distance to like test yourselves on. Like it's kind of the standard.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if we're sticking with a 4-man relay or 4-person relay, obviously, then that's probably a safe distance.
Or
You know,
even
just
like, I mean, if it's 100 miles, you might even want like 6 people.
yeah, you
Like
could.
have around 15 miles per person that you have to run all out, and maybe in 2 different legs or something.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to put some stipulations like you have to. Yeah, each person has to run a minimum of this distance, and it has to. You can break down. If you have all one gender versus mixed teams and things like that. But yeah, it's doable. But yeah, I think 100 miles would be like the absolute minimum, unless it's like a very weird and technical course. So
Yeah, relay, and then you have a huge party at the finish line. 100-mile relay,
yeah,
or I don't know, 4 or 6 people switching off, point to point, freaking awesome party at the finish. Sounds like a great time.
all right. So my people will call your people, and we'll get this.
Yeah, keep rolling. Maricopa Trail, I think I could think of like a good 100-mile stretch on that might work.
I mean, we have to be able to. I mean, I know there are some spots in California. I'm thinking like there's some Southern California stuff that gets pretty funky that we could play around on because everybody would want to do Tahoe or some route through the headlands. But I think there's some stuff in that like San Diego 100 area and
Yeah, just be
Angeles
good to have
Crest
like
area.
good spots for handoffs and parking and
Yep.
stuff like that. Could be cool.
Cool. So if somebody who's listening at home wants to start devising all of these Strava courses and share some routes, then maybe maybe that'll be now that we're apparently doing an award show at the end of 2021. Added in.
Doing what?
Apparently, we're doing an award show at the end of 2021,
Yeah.
so we could do like fun relay FKT of the year and
Carol is asking, how would runners get back to the end after their section? I think they would just hop in the van, the team van. You just keep it rolling.
Yeah. Oh, this would have to be a crewed thing too. Like you have to have like a fifth person
It's a crewed situation, for sure. So yeah, we're kind of it's kind of like a trail version of the Ragnar Road essentially, but we're just doing 100 miles. We're not going 200 or 150. We're just doing 100, calling it good, having a good time. Yeah, this is, I mean, basically the show is just it's now just going to be a think tank for the sport. We're just going to talk about ideas. We're going to talk about what people are doing. You know, what is the sport missing? What is it doing well? What brands are doing good? What brands need to step it up, or just, you know, who's in, who's out?
Yeah. And if we dunk on a brand and they want to send us some stuff so we can try it, and, you know, we'll help that.
Yeah,
we'll do that too.
The brands want to get in on this pod while we're still small and we're just pulling 40 viewers, you know, like this is your time, because it's going to be crazy here in a couple of years.
So we should probably get close to wrapping up, but there are a couple.
Yeah, because I got to get some fuel and some food.
I feel that. Do you want to do a Snap Bandera prediction based on anything you've looked at, or
can we just look at the I Run Far preview?
I don't know if they have one.
I mean, if they are not doing these anymore, I mean, there's a prime opportunity. There's dynamic. Nope. No, it's just AJW now, just posting once a week. You know, I don't know. Maybe they'll post it, but I don't know. Maybe like we need to start penning some articles at mountainoutpost.com and have a think tank.
That's fine. There was somebody who.
Do we need a forum where people who watch this can these can take flight, like these ideas? Do you have any ideas on that?
We can. I think we should probably just like put up like hot topics posts after this on the Mountain Outpost like Instagram feed, and people can just like go back and forth in the comments.
Be good. Yeah,
you got that, and then obviously we always have the YouTube comments. So even for those who are not watching this live,
let's be active. I like this. This is good. Bandera. Did we get a list? We don't really have a list, do we? Because it's a sign up and it's awful.
And it was all alphabetical and not very helpful. So,
it was out, so we know that.
Mm-hmm.
So no, we don't have predictions. Well, I don't even know one person running it right now.
Some people are about to get golden tickets, and we'll have to do a recap and figure out who these individuals are, and chat about it next Tuesday, and then we turn our sights to Black Canyon as the second.
That's pretty much what's going on. Well, we have the Carbon X2 event first.
Yeah. I was thinking golden tickets, but yes.
Golden tickets, yeah. It's pretty much going to be, so far, January, we're going to have Bandera, and we're going to have Carbon X2. In February, we're going to have Black Canyon. And that's about all we got so far.
Formidable, I found out, is happening. So last year's USATF 50K championships, that race is happening. I don't know how competitive the field is going to be. I think it's a limited field size this year. But I did get word that race is indeed going off the weekend after Black Canyon.
It's right after Black Canyon. They got approval though, because I saw they had like entrants on their list. It looked like it was moving to like a 2-week long event, like 2 different weekends.
Yeah, they have like a half marathon and something else shorter that's like weekend 1, and then the 50K and the 35K are split between 2 days on weekend 2. So yeah, February 20th, I guess, is like the premier 50K day.
We got running at altitude. It says Skizzle Fresh came prepared for this podcast. Lots of knowledge. Dropping knowledge.
I'm trying. It's still just me and him talking, but occasionally I do light research in between conference calls.
Guess who's in Black Canyon?
Are
Jim
you?
Walmsley.
Oh,
I just found out about this. Woo!
Okay.
Sick. All right. It's happening, folks.
He does need a ticket. So
Does he need to get into Western states?
he does not have a ticket.
Alrighty. So that just got interesting.
Okay.
Alrighty. That's legit.
All right. You heard it here first.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Jim Walmsley is coming to Black Canyon, and that's probably a good place to wrap it up for this week.
Yeah, we got some topics we have to address next week. We'll catch up on Bandera. We'll talk about where we're at. We still need to talk about our resolutions, but this gives us time to actually make them concrete.
We're going to be dropping some big news this week on my 2021 calendar. I didn't talk about it yet, did I?
No.
Okay, good. I'll talk about it next week because, I'll talk off air with you about it.
Absolutely.
We'll announce it next week, and you can talk about your stuff as well.
Absolutely, because there's news on that front as well for me. I do want to note. I did see this in a comment on one of our recent podcast episodes on YouTube. This podcast is not replacing Mountain Outhouse News. It's additional.
That's going to come back with a vengeance. Yeah, I think the first episode's coming back this week. I'm saying it right now.
Okay.
First week of the year. So it's basically just going to be a rehash of this show. But I will have to actually do my research and find out who the heck is running Bandera.
That's fair. And what will likely happen is like Mountain Outhouse News will still be what it's always been. And then this podcast, as we've been saying all along, it's just a conversation. So we'll talk about those topics, but I also will bring in some non-traditional Mountain Outhouse topics from the run flat world and maybe even other sports.
I'm digging the direction this week. The kind of we were getting into it. I think it's good. I like it.
So yes, we have a lot of content coming out on Mountain Outhouse. Geez, I do this every time. A lot of content on Mountain Outpost on the YouTube channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Like this video, like the other videos. I just dropped a treadmill distraction edit of the coast in Hawaii. So if you're running on the treadmill or on some sort of stationary thing and you want to see some scenic beauty as you do that, go ahead and pop that on. You can hear me breathe or play a soundtrack of your choice. I'm committing to dropping a vlog at some point before our next recording next week, talking about my 2021 training plan, and then we'll delve into some stuff next week. And we're off to the races.
Island Running says they'll give us a recap of Bandera. So
sweet.
Are you gonna be out there? If so, hook us up for sure.
Bandera is one of those weird races to track on social media. Just because
it's in the middle of nowhere with very little coverage, I think. So. Right. And Black Canyon, I think I've mentioned this before, but now that it is official, if you want to join our Black Canyon live cast team, please message me, and I'm going to start to compile a list of people that want to help. It's going to basically, you do not have to be fast. If you are fast, we will use you earlier in the day, but we need people spread out over the course that basically are going to be with phones and gimbals, and they're going to be providing live coverage throughout the whole course. We're going to try and get as much of the race. We're going to be broadcasting from this studio like we did for Desert Solstice, and we want to get as much of this race out there into the world as possible. So if you want to join our team, if you're making your way to Arizona, we'll have probably some hefty race credits at minimum for you. So please reach out. You don't have to be from Arizona to join the team, but we do need you to be in Arizona for the race. You have to be on the course, but you will be able to go places that normal spectators, won't be going. You might be on course. You might be walking around aid stations or helping at the finish line. We're going to need a team of probably 15 people, I'm guessing. If you have studio experience, if you've worked with OBS, or want to do studio work, we will need multiple people in the studio as well. We might need commentators, but we kind of want to keep it pretty tight and keep it here in Arizona for the most part. So I'm just shouting it out. That's it. Let's shut it down. Thank you guys all. We'll see you next week.
Enjoy your week, guys.